Yeah.
Okay, today I want to talk about the meaning of Muammar Gaddafi's death. And I want to talk about Minister Louis Farrakhan, his response to it, and him and President Barack Obama's relationship. And then I want to end on what the prophetic message is and how that relates to Detroit or wherever you live in the world, to African people of the diaspora, to Latin Americans, to whites, to Jews, to anybody who lives on this on the face of this earth. So, I just been reading about what's happening in Libya, the assassination, the professional hit that was on Muammar Gaddafi. And I think what surprised me the most was in his last month, his push for what is called the gold dinar. And the gold dinar was used in early Islam as their currency of exchange. And it consisted of minted gold coins, dinar, and silver coins. Gold and silver, as you know, is what Africa has an abundance of. So the value of this gold dinar, and you can look it up on the internet, was by their weight and a market value of two metals. Indonesia adopted it in 2000 and Malaysia adopted it in 2006. So in Libya, Muammar Gaddafi introduced a, quote, gold for oil plan, end quote, to possibly trade Libyan oils on international markets. Now you got to take a pause here, because now you're talking about a radical shift, a tectonic shift in the world order in terms of the market, international coinage and market value and currency. Now Muammar Gaddafi introduces this. Now, you could use this coin, so we'll come back to that, but you can use this coin all over Africa, the world, and in the Arab world, and it was not endorsed by the Arab League, and it was not endorsed by South Africa. But had this coin come into usage, you could buy and sell merchandise from outlets, you can hold an account, making and receiving payments with other mediums of exchange, and you could save without fear of devaluation due to inflation. What you have in the world market today is just paper money. It's just a promise. It's borrowers and lenders, and it's just paper money. But with the golden dinar, Muammar Gaddafi felt it would introduce into the world market, it would, he got nothing but oil. Now this is what he introduced. He has nothing but oil underneath all that sand. It is stable. This dinar would be stable. It would be very secure. And as I said, gold and silver is nothing. Back in the day, you could take the kings of Africa had big chunks of gold. They go to the corner store and they just put out a big old plunk of gold right there, and nobody thinks anything of it. Here is a land that is rich in minerals. And here's a man, Muammar Gaddafi, who was about to change the economic order of the continent of Africa and also the Arab world. Modern money comes into being through the creation of government, business, and private debt. Government and private banks. Now look at the argument that's going on now with President Barack Obama and the bailout of the Wall Street banks. And look at what precipitated that. It was nothing but paper money. Look at Michael Moore's movie, Capitalism, and I think he did his homework and did a lot of good research, and this was a planned economic turndown. Well, with what Muammar Gaddafi was introducing was an alternative to the Federal Reserve. And remember, the Federal Reserve Act was passed in December. Congress adjourns for Christmas break, and the president wanted so much for the Federal Reserve Act to be passed that he called a special session of Congress. So here was the Federal Reserve, and the debt in America had just gone up tremendously. And even, and now the economy is coming to a head. Capitalism is probably coming to a head. It's happening in Europe. It's happening. I don't like to get into economic and finance and stuff because that's not my area. All I can say is that it's really screwed up. But here you have a man, Muammar Gaddafi, who has oil and who is proposing to sell his oil on the market, on the international market, with this gold dinar. So the question is Libya being bombed, or was Gaddafi killed because he introduced the gold dinar? And we have to, China began the conversation in the Middle East, but Gaddafi, from my research, he extended this conversation by calling on the Arab and African world to adopt the gold dinar as a single current. And he offered to create this is very important, he offered to create a single African and Arab state numbering over 200 million people. This is significant, but we did this before with the Moors. The Moors are nothing but a marriage between Arabs and blacks in Africa, and also Jews. So, I mean, let's not get worked up over it. This is just the evolution of history, but it was sad to me that we have an African-American president, and he went over to Africa, to the Muslim world, and gave a nice speech. You should go to his website, whitehouse.gov, and read the speech to that Muslim world. And although Arrafat lived in the tent, and he was not part of the Arab, some of them probably didn't like him. And there was this craziness about him, but he was the head of state. And even when Mandela came here, and he had an interview with Ted Koppel, Mandela even reiterated that people like Muammar Gaddafi and Arrafat and the PLO and also Cuba, they supported the ANC and Mandela to the hill. And he said something really interesting. I think we should be able to learn from this. Mandela came here and said, listen, I'm not trying to get into the internal affairs of other peoples. Everybody in all parts of the earth, they have to find their struggle in their own land, within their own culture, within their own religion. And so he was not, he came out of jail and he said, listen, I'm not getting involved with Muammar Gaddafi, but this brother supported me to the hill when I was in Robbins Island. And so I didn't know all this about Gaddafi until he died. I mean, all I knew he was a terrorist. He said that he was a terrorist. If you say you're a terrorist and you act kind of crazy, you know, then you just fit that boogeyman image that America and those guys at the Foggy Bottom in the White House and the CIA, that's what they want. Here's a guy who nobody likes. But what does this mean for African Americans and for the Muslim world? It just says that we all live on one earth. And, the people say, well, the end of the world. No, civilization may be destroyed, but the earth is going to keep rotating. That moon is still going to be up there in the sky. That sun is going to be up there in the sky. So if we all don't learn how to get along together and stop assassinating people, President Barack Obama, and that was just a sad part. But when you have merchant bankers running the international monetary system, that's what you have to do. Next, I'm going to get more into depth with Minister Louis Farrakhan and President Barack Obama.